In this video, I'm going to walk through how to personalize messaging when you don't have the prospect's LinkedIn profile. How do you personalize it? You basically go on their website, you scrape the data on their website, and you try to use some of the case studies or some relevant information on the website, something unique, to be able to send them a hyper-personalized message. So at least they feel like you've actually read their website. So I'm going to walk through right now. I have this flow open right here. And basically what this flow does, I'll go through it really quickly and then I'll actually individually break up exactly what I'm doing on every single step. So you click to run the workflow, and then basically you have a massive lead list. Here's a lead list I have, and this lead list is great, but the thing it doesn't have, that thing that I need, is summaries. If I don't have the people's summary, I cannot write them a hyper-personalized message. Otherwise, it's just gonna sound generic like everybody else's message. But here's what I do have. I have their company website, and the company website is right over here. I duplicated it just because I was testing something, but this is their company website. If I click it, open it, I'll be able to see they're redirected back to their website. Perfect. Now, hypothetically, what's going to happen is I'm going to scrape their entire website using a platform called Exa. Once I scrape all the text from their website, I'm going to punch it into here, which is OpenAI. Then it's going to get reprinted back on Google Sheets all the way in the end over here, as you can see. So all we're really going to have is we're going to have the subject line, which is going to be customized to a degree. And then we're going to also have the PS statement. And then that's pretty much it. That's all the personalization we need. And this will get us in the top 2% of all cold emailers. So let's start from the beginning. How do you typically do this? So you got to launch this campaign manually, and then you basically upload your Google Sheet to it. All you got to do is you got to find your Google Sheet. It'll load up automatically, whatever the most recent Google Sheet you're playing around with. You leave everything alone, but you got to click the sheet that you're working on. So as you come over here, I know that I'm going to be working on the main sheet. And the main sheet, then that's the one I got to click. But for this instance, I'm going to be working on copy of main one file. So let's click on one of these over here. Actually, I'll go through it first and then I'll basically divide it up. And then once it gets all the entire list effectively, there's 1,003 leads. I want it to go through a loop. I do not want it stopping and then restarting over again, because that'll count as 1,003 different executions. I basically want to have one execution that basically just keeps on going in a loop effectively. So how do I do that? Once you put in a loop, you basically use Exa, which you're going to see my token here. So basically you would use post method, you would use this URL, and then you would connect it using your bearer token. Right? Whatever token the website ends up giving you for the API you want to use to be able to connect this website. When it comes to send body, you want to send the URL in this format. And the way I'm sending the URL, I'm just getting their email address and I'm saying, hey, anything before the @ symbol, I want you to exclude. I just want you to give me the domain.com. And that's pretty much it. And then once you run this, it'll spit the data out over here on the right-hand side for outputs. Then secret weapon, which is going to be OpenAI. You run ChatGPT 4o mini. The reason why we're doing mini is because it's pennies on the dollar. If you run ChatGPT 4o, it's actually quite expensive. Or ChatGPT 4, it'll cost a few dollars. If you're doing 1,000 leads, it'll probably cost you about 50 cents to $1. But if you run mini, it'll end up costing you probably not even the neighborhood of about 2 cents or 4 cents maybe, if we're really going to want to spend money. So basically I come over here and I say, hey, this is your system prompt. Basically, I'm letting the system know, hey, here's exactly what your only job is. You are a helpful, intelligent writing assistant. Now, the exact prompt that I'm going to give it as a user, so basically I have a user and I also have assistant. Assistant is what I want it to look like. User is I'm giving it more direction. I'm giving it more clarity, more context around how I want it to come around. But system is like the full thing, like, hey, this is what you're known as, right? And then this over here, the first prompt is basically going to say, your task is to personalize an email. You'll do this by taking as input the prospect's website, then editing 2 templates for different section of the email, subject line and the PS field. Now, before this, it said your LinkedIn URL. But again, we don't have that anymore, because even if we were to use their LinkedIn information, we don't have their summary. So whatever we get from their LinkedIn profile isn't going to be valid. Once you do that, you give it a couple examples on the subject line, and you also give it an example of the PS line you want. Then just give it some guidelines on how you want it to kind of sound and whatnot. And over here, It's something unique about their company, so they know I'm actually personalizing this message for them. Once you do that, you basically paste it back on your Google Sheet. Now, why don't we run it? Now, what sheet are we using over here? Let's just confirm. So we're using the main file. So let's go to the main file and let's see if we've already done some before. Perfect. We've already done a handful. So what I'm going to end up doing is I don't want to duplicate this sheet again. So basically I'm going to come over here. Actually, let's duplicate it, but let's not touch that sheet. Okay, so we have that sheet over here. I basically do not want to touch the sheet because I've already done this sheet. And I'm just going to leave this alone, but I'll delete everything underneath this. So that's all deleted. We're going to go back to the sheet over here. And what we're going to do is we are going to basically delete this because we already have it saved on the other sheet. Perfect. So now if we scroll all the way to the right, this is all empty. This is all going to be new stuff that we're going to add. All we want is the subject line and we want the PS line. In fact, we could even get rid of all this. So subject line, PS line, perfect, it's there. I'm just going to highlight this to make it a little bit bigger. When you highlight both of them, it helps both of them get bigger. And in fact, we don't actually need this line, this column as well. So these are only two ones that we need. Okay, so let's go back and let's figure out what our sheet is called. Our sheet is called main file. Now, because I just updated it, it's extremely important to reset the values. You can refresh it, but I recommend resetting the values and making sure everything is on point over here. Perfect. We want the main file. We want to run it. Always run it just as a test. Just so you don't have to keep on doing it over and over again. Okay, it says the expression evaluated to a falsy value. So all that we have to do here is we have to run this entire scenario again. And it's going to break somewhere just because I don't have this sheet basically working correctly. But I'm only going to do this just because I want to run at least once, so it doesn't keep giving us the error. Perfect, this is good. Now watch this. When I start running it, everything's going to be perfectly fine. And just like magic, perfect. All right, I'm just going to pin this, just so I don't got to keep on rerunning it over and over again. Okay, then it's going to enter that loop. In fact, we're going to go over here, and we're going to say we only want you to run once. So execute once is extremely important. Right, and parameters batch size 1. The problem with Exa, which is a fantastic software, by the way, the problem with Exa is, so I'll type in here, Exa, AI, API, then you'll be able to get to the website. Try API for free, perfect. And then you basically go to the API keys and you just create your own API key. And the way you do that is you literally click on create an API key, give it a name, create a key, and you'll basically get it. And then you'll go over here and you'll put it here. So this is the URL. It's api.exa.ai/contents. Authentication, you just don't need to do that. You're going to send some headers in just so it could validate that's actually your profile. Authorization is going to be the name. The value is going to be bearer and whatever your token ends up being. The JSON file, I'm actually going to post this down below just so everybody has that. And now this is gray, so that means it's not working. So we got to figure out how to make it work. But even before we do that, in fact, let's just see if we could execute the previous node. And I'm going to show you why I did it this way. There's a particular reason. Okay, perfect. You know what? It ran fine. So all that's happening now, so we're going to go to the loop over items tab, right? We got email. So, okay, so we're getting email and we're only getting all the information that's after the @ symbol. Because sometimes if I go after this website, it might say https ://www. There's too much. I don't want to have to do all that. All I want is the email address and the URL, and basically I have their company domain name. So I'm saying, hey, X, I want you to go on these people's domain name, and I hard-coded https : //. Go to these people's domain and get all the text from their website effectively. And when I run this, it's going to get, find it over here, it's going to get streetlightdata.com's information from their website. So let's click on test step. And in fact, let's just click this and let's actually go to the website while we wait. So perfect. Transportation analytics for efficient, safe, and sustainable infrastructure. All right, looks like a great lead for us. Let's go back. Perfect. We got the text. This is really all that we need, right? And the system's automatically going to be able to know \n means new line. Okay, so we have that. In fact, let's pin that really quickly. Now we're going to go to OpenAI and be able to, so again, we want to message a model, sorry. We want to click on ChatGPT 4o Mini. It's one of the cheapest. It's for what you get for it. It's absolutely phenomenal, right? You do that and you basically scroll down to see if there's anything that's red or gray. So this is fine, right? We basically gave it a user. So the role it's going to have is you are a helpful, intelligent writing assistant. The user is going to be this. And we're going to add another user in as well. And we're going to give it a bunch of information. So information we're going to give it, to making sure everything looks right. And like I said, \n, new line. This is all the information from their website, the website content. The few things that I want, their full name, title, company, which is basically going to have the company name, location, and website content. This is probably the most important one here. Otherwise, it's not going to work properly, right? Once I do that, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to say, the output should look like something like this. So all you're going to give us is the subject line and the PS line. That's all we want. We're going to test this stuff, make sure everything works perfectly fine. And if it gives us the thumbs up, we're basically ready to run the entire project. And I just want to go back to my sheet over here. Let's give it a second. Okay, perfect. Hey, Ari, and sometimes you don't want to capitalize it just because you want to make it look like real human. I think I have something for you regarding transportation analytics. This is perfect. I have no complaints whatsoever. So, all right, now what do we have to do? So now what we got to do is we got to go back and we're going to run this once just to make sure that it works. Then we'll run it again full time at scale. So of course, all right. So once that runs, it's going to basically say no bueno. All right. So the reason why it's not working is because I went back and you recall when I deleted like 3 rows from here. So the system doesn't know to automatically update. So I have to make all the updates for it manually just in the beginning. So we're going to come back over here. We're going to have to refresh this entirely because this email is getting something off the old email, spreadsheet. So basically I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say refresh column values. So it's fetching columns. Now it's going back in over here. It's saying, okay, what are the columns? And it's getting it all again for us. So it's good to go here. This email is fine. We scroll down. We should only get subject and PS. We shouldn't get anything in between. If we do, then we got to reset it again. So subject and PS. Okay, yeah, this is the PS content, this is the subject content. Now it should be good. So now what we're going to do is we are going to, actually just as a good luck measure, as they say, let's just go back here and let's just delete this and let's just get the email address again. And we are going to get it from, so let's just roll this up. Let's roll this up and we are going to get email from here. We want to match every single email from here. So now I want to run it once more. So executing workflow, and that's going to go one by one. It's only once. And then I'll just take that thing off that I have loop over items. Okay, perfect. Now let's go back and see if it worked. Amazing, it worked. So now, remember, you can only do like 5 searches per second, something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the batch size 1. Normally, I'll do batch size 10. So it'll do 10 at a time. It'll loop through all 10. Then it'll go back and it'll keep going back and forth. But I'm not going to do that just because the system won't be able to handle it. Come over here, execute once. We don't have to do that. And now we're just going to test the flow just for a few, just see, confirm that it works. And once it gives us our thumbs up, and we're basically ready to run. So it's one by one. Perfect. Ariel, just confirm this person's name is Ariel. Perfect. Next one should be Arik. Let's just confirm that. Okay, perfect. It's all running fine. And then there you go. That's really all that's it. That's literally the automation that we got to run if we do not have the LinkedIn profile information. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope it was beneficial. If it was, give me a thumbs up just so that I know that it was beneficial. Other than that, thank you very much.